boys feeling? How we doing this week?
Another day in paradise, gentlemen. The official has officially shown at least 60 minutes of extra time tonight for us to discuss
Baby, you
MLS
give
match
me
day. What is it now?
life.
Six?
Five.
Five.
Okay, I'm getting a
Five.
little too far ahead of myself because it's just such a good. It's always a good time to be hanging out with you boys. How are you doing, Jacob?
I'm doing good. I just had my hydration break going into 60 added minutes. Excited to get into these breakdowns. There was a lot of action-packed games this week, so interested to see your guys' takes on them in comparison to how I felt going forward. So yeah, let's get into it, boys.
Yeah, for sure. Let's go ahead and get it started in the Eastern Conference this week. Uh, yeah, so we'll just hop right into the games. The first game that I'm covering here is Cincinnati versus a Miguel Almiron less Atlanta. He was not there this week, so they had Saba Labanidze filling in his usual spot on the right wing, and he did not disappoint. Um, but I will say that since he did look like they were the better side in the opening of the game, with Brad Guzan denying him, and actually it would be Latte Lot again opening the scoring with some good quick thinking play off a throw in. Just the defenders just committed two people to a ball that was going out of bounds for no reason. Left the middle of the park wide open. Uh, Saba Labanidze with a slot in, and it was a really nice finish too. But Evander would equalize with a little deflected free kick. Very unlucky for Atlanta, but since he looked to finally be getting the best out of Evander so far, so uh, pretty interesting. Do you guys think that Evander is looking like a possible MLS MVP candidate? I know it's early, but what do you guys think so far? He's looking pretty nice.
I don't see why he's not in the conversation based on the last three games performances. I think he got two this weekend,
Hmm.
and then I know he got one 2 weekends ago. I was tapped out of MLS last weekend because I was moving, but yeah, I mean, I couldn't tell you why he doesn't deserve an MVP nod right now.
Eyes have got to be on him because he's one of the highest quality players in the MLS, along the likes of Marcel Hartel, for example. I think he got off to a slow start this season, but yeah, Grayson, he is certainly picking it up and retaining that Evander form that propelled Portland to being the top, an actual playoff contender in the West because we can see how they are doing now without him.
Yeah, and like Jacob said, it would be Evander again scoring their second goal, the go-ahead goal. But late in the match, Labanidze again uh, drives down the pitch, forces an own goal to tie up the match. This game would end 2-2. Pretty respectable for both teams. Yeah, both very good. Atlanta has their new superstars, and then Cincy with their new superstars, Evander and Luca Orejano. They really look like they're a budding duo in that Cincy side. So moving on into another big one, we got the New York Red Bulls coming up against Toronto, and Toronto's been really quiet at the beginning of this season, but it's actually them that would take the storyline for this week because Lorenzo Insigne is back in the starting 11 for the first time this year after a really rocky preseason where he was effectively kicked out of the team. Toronto was looking to move on from him, and he just refused. So
Wild.
yeah, they kept him around long enough for him to get back in the team. But I actually just watched an Eli Lester video on this. He didn't look that great. He was pretty quiet again. Like he was a big part in the setup for the Red Bulls or for Toronto's only goal. He put in a player in behind who sent in a beautiful cross, but other than that, he was pretty pedestrian again. Uh, but yeah, enough about Insigne because this game was all about Emil Forsberg. He would nick the ball off the Toronto center back and then send in Raheem Edwards, the new Red Bulls signing. But yeah, Forsberg would end up bearing the penalty to go ahead, and I will say, yeah, that Toronto equalizer was super clean. Kudos to Derek Etienne Jr. for that amazing cross, and then Kerr with the header bar down. I will say, like honestly, you rarely see headers get nominated for goal of the week, but I don't mind nominating this one because it is like a really good build up play. But Forsberg would get the dagger with a quick, fast passing in the box. And yeah, very close call. He is on sides, barely kept on sides, but
Barely.
yeah,
Hmm.
barely, very lucky. But he looked super confused after he scored that goal. No celebration. He's used to some goals getting called off. So,
I
very.
think he thought he was offsides.
Oh yeah, I think he did too. And then late drama, there was a red card late for Carballo, who literally talked himself into getting a red card. Like he got a yellow, I don't even remember what for. And then he's running alongside the ref after he's got the yellow, continuing to talk to him. And the ref is like, okay, just get off the field, man. You obviously just don't want to be here. So.
Shout out to Ali Sood.
For
It's
real.
that is the number one worst way to get a red card, in my opinion. Descend.
Very funny, very funny. And then going into the next match, we had one of the blockbuster games of this week, and they would get the little picture on on the page this week because it would be Orlando smacking DC 4-1. It was,
Crazy.
yeah, it was a really good game. Like, and if you look at the stats, like DC, like were still in it. They had some decent amount of chances, but if you go watch the highlights, DC is not in that at all because they just didn't have those quality chances. And yeah, this game could have been a lot worse. But it would be Luis Muriel, the signing from Syria. He signed from Atalanta,
And good.
and he buried a header start off the day, a deflection for the second one, and then another header for the third goal, and then a rocket from Marco Pasalic for the fourth goal. And yeah, DC was lucky. It really could have been like 6 or 7-0,
For real.
or 6 or 7-1, because DC would get a goal back, a little consolation goal there. But yeah, Orlando's defense was just on it this week, just shutting out DC. They had 41 clearances. Like,
God damn.
that's absurd. We're talking about Orlando's offense, but someone's got to mention something about that defense because that's just crazy. Um, let's see. Then I've got Columbus Crew versus NYCFC, and this is an interesting one for you guys because this game heavily featured Cityboys' favorite AZ Jackson, who earned a start for the Crew this week.
Interesting.
Yeah, yeah, very interesting. And he actually would almost break the deadlock. He hit the post in the 37th minute, and he had a handful of chances. So interesting that he is, really starting to maybe lock his place in that starting 11, but we'll see how that goes. But this game really was all about the Crew, but it would be Matt Freeze putting in a man of the match performance. That is NYCFC's goalkeeper. He stole the show, man. He really did lock it down back there. And there would be a late goal for Columbus Crew that was ruled out for offsides. Both team earned 1 point. Nothing crazy there. It's honestly a better loss for, or a better draw for NYCFC here. The crew is kind of struggling right now. That's a couple draws in a row, so they've kind of cooled down. We'll see what's going on with them. But they sit in sixth place, so still pretty respectable for early on in the season.
Hmm.
And then last but not least, we have Nashville SZ fighting the Montreal Impact. Nashville gets their third straight win coming up against Montreal, but it
Damn.
could have ended, it could have started very badly as Nashville's keeper Joe Villas gets caught dribbling in the box. Uh, really lucky, had a goal line clearance save his ass. This is in the 8th minute of the match, so it looked like this game was gonna go very poorly. Maybe Montreal's first win. No, because it would be Footy Mozart himself, Alex Mule, opening the scoring in the second half. Great ball from Sam Surridge. It just once again, that's just good ball knowledge. That's just good ball knowledge right there. Uh, Bauer would get the second, getting ahead on a little flick from Walker Zimmerman. Walker Zimmerman got up. He got up for that header. And then Johnny Perez would get the third, taking on his man, sneak it into the bottom left corner to round out the Eastern Conference. Boys, major takeaways. What games really put you on watch in the Eastern Conference this week?
I loved the Atlanta United game. That game was so much fun to watch.
It was a good match. It was a good match. Since he is a very, very different team than last season, extremely different, but they're still very exciting to watch.
I
Uh,
am shocked to see Nashville getting their third straight win, gentlemen. I
yeah,
think that is pretty incredible because it took at least 2 games for them to find the back of the net. So for them to now parlay that momentum into a third consecutive win. Granted, Montreal is doing bad. Okay, we
good
can
team all the way,
say
all
it.
the way down here.
They are competing with Kansas City. It seems like for the wooden spoon at the moment.
Yeah, it's not going great.
They, I guess it got bad enough that they fired their head coach after the game.
I
It's
did,
Already?
yeah, I did see that.
They fired their head coach early on, and
Yeah,
what's funny about this, I think I saw Matt Doyle on Blue Sky say that he is actually their out of their last 10 managers, he lasted the fifth longest, and he was there for 52 games.
oh my god.
So just over a season and a half total. I don't know how that panned out over the calendar, but yeah, Montreal is a club in in shambles at the moment.
Yeah, they're in trouble. Uh, yeah, good time to take a peek at the table over here. We'll go ahead and start at the bottom. Look at that, Montreal, Toronto FC. Actually, just learned that those two might be the smallest markets in MLS. Just recently found that out. Then we've got New England Revolution, and surprising to see Atlanta down this low in 12th place this early on. But super still early on. Cincinnati also down here as well. Moving up,
That's surprising.
Orlando, another surprising one. They're having what seems like a pretty decent start to the year. And then moving up the table, I mean, Chicago Fire. Hello, what are y'all doing here?
Surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah, their third straight.
So yeah, I mean, that's a decent segue if you guys want to pop over into the Western Conference, talk about what's going on over there.
Yeah, a couple matches to cover in the Western Conference. I'm going to start with the Sporting Kansas City versus LAFC match, and no surprises to the scoreline in this one. LAFC does, in fact, beat Sporting Kansas City 2-0 with a piss missile from none other than David Martinez in the 18th minute. Other goal in this game was scored by Aaron Long, who was honestly just cleaning up the mess from a botched cross turned into header that was put directly into the goalkeeper. and then he was just in the right spot to hit the ball into the back of the net. This brings LAFC up to third place in the West on 9 points, with Sporting Kansas City in last place.
Hey.
Moving to Colorado versus Portland, what could have been a marquee match turned into a Portland funhouse of a match. Portland scores three on Colorado, starting with an own goal from Atencio in stoppage time of the first half, and then Anthony, not the Manchester United Anthony, the MLS Anthony, scores early in the second half with a long range, well placed shot into the bottom left corner. And then Kevin Kelsey in the 75th minute capped the scoring for Portland with a tidy finish, getting on the end of a cross. Portland moves up to ninth in the West, and Colorado falls to seventh. Real Salt Lake went to FC Dallas. There was a very, very early straight red card for Real Salt Lake to Ariath Pule in the 23rd minute, and then the only goal was scored by Dallas's Lucia Costa, who got on the end of a deflected cross and scored it with his head. All 5'5" of Lucia Costa gets a header goal. Shout out to all my short kings out there. Gotta love that. RSL falls to 11th, and Dallas moves up to 8th in the standings. Seattle versus Houston was probably the worst match to watch of the weekend. It ends 0-0, and it wasn't really pleasing to the eye anywhere. It was nice to see Nico Ladero homecoming in Seattle. They um, had a nice pre-match ceremony for him, but that was pretty much the highlight of that game. Houston is in 13th place, and Seattle is only one position ahead of them in 12th place. Injury bug really, really hurting Seattle right now. Then you've got Austin versus San Diego, which was really, really fun in the first half for this match. Brandon Vasquez opens the scoring in the 10th minute and also ended his goalless start to the year. And then 9 minutes later, John Gallagher bagged himself a goal. And then the last match of the goal was by Luca De La Torre in the 27th minute. Austin sitting unconvincingly in second place, and San Diego in a much more convincing fourth place. And that does wrap up the action in the West. Ethan, which scoreline stood out to you over here in the Western Conference?
Honestly, Jacob, there I was very surprised to see Austin and San Diego pan out to only a 2-1 game. Frankly, I have considered San Diego's attack to be more dynamic and electric than most so far this season. We got to experience that personally when they played St. Louis. So, honestly, I think if Brandon Vasquez can continue to produce for Austin, they will be a dangerous team. I hope he doesn't, especially not next week because they are
Yeah.
playing St. Louis. So he could wait just a few more weeks to get his attacking prowess kickstarted. But I'm also surprised to see Seattle and Houston 0-0 between those two teams. They're two older teams in the MLS. I think that we expect a more exciting match out of them.
I think it should have been a more exciting match. Even with the injury bugs, you'd think Houston has a better shot at stealing points from this match because Seattle is down a fair few players. And then they didn't, as well as Houston's not a good team right now, and Seattle, with their backups, weren't even able to come in and steal a point or steal more than 1 point from Houston.
And hey, maybe that is Houston's narrative this season is making it difficult for good teams to continue good form or good strides. Like I could see them being a pest kind of team that could potentially sneak into the playoffs at just right at the right time.
A lot of season left for them to get hot for sure.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Missing Jack McGlynn as well, right?
Yeah, he did not make an appearance. I think was he with the national
He
team?
yeah, he came off the
Yeah,
bench for the U.S.
yeah.
against Canada, I believe.
Yeah, I was gonna say like that definitely hurt RSL this week, which was one of my surprise score lines. I do rate this RSL side. I think they're having a really, really rough start to the season, and yeah, losing Diego Luna is not gonna help you. So
That would hurt any team. He brings so much fire to that RSL team. It's insane to see his impact at such a young age.
I think the scoreline that stood out to me the most in this one was Portland bagging 3 goals on Colorado. Portland is slowly becoming a really good team in this season. They had a very
Very
slow
slowly.
start,
Yeah.
but have since kind of shocked me in their last 2 wins. They beat Austin a couple weeks ago, and Austin is sitting in second place. And then they just beat Colorado, which is not an easy team by any means. So shout out to Portland.
Yeah. And
And
yeah,
this is that.
a couple scrappy goals. So it'll be important to see if they can replicate that over the season. But yeah,
Well, and like I think it's a similar story with Austin. I think they're searching for a talisman, and Kevin Kelsey is able to step up for them in that moment, and it's producing wins for them. If they can continue that, then Jacob, I don't see why they couldn't also bag a playoff spot. I don't think I could see them getting higher than a 6 or 7 seed. I think that would be good for them.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know if their quality puts them in the top 5 of the Western Conference, but an away team over 3 matches,
Hey,
anything
yeah,
can happen.
it's not bad. Speaking of top 5 teams in the Western Conference, gentlemen, we ready to hop over to the Berhalter Derby between Chicago Fire and Vancouver Whitecaps, who, despite losing this match 3-1, retain their spot on the top of the West. Vancouver still looking very good and missing their talisman and Brian White on international duty. However, the real story of this game is the impact from the Chicago Fire DPs. Zinkernagel bags himself a goal and an assist, and one of their new men, Kuame, would get on the score sheet in like the final seconds of the game. Either way, Chicago needed to see that. They got to see their new players producing like they expected over the summer, and it seems as if that team chemistry is really gelling there in Chicago. We're going to move on into the second interconference match of the week. The other very exciting one that I thought was very good: Charlotte versus San Jose. San Jose get their third loss in a row, gentlemen. I was shocked.
After starting
Charlotte
2-0.
old
they
habits die hard, man.
they started out just white hot, and like a white hot fire, it died quickly. Charlotte inched closer to the top of the East with a dominant performance. Guys, I went on here last week and talked about Bronico, Pep Biel, Westwood, the Charlotte FC midfield, and boy, did they show out. Did I feel vindicated as hell reading this match report, boy? Pep Biel scored a banger, and he just played out of his mind. To be fair, I think I read after the match he said that his daughter scored the same day, so he had to match that performance. And
That's so
fair play.
adorable.
Yeah, I
That
did see
is
that.
that is high level pressure for the man. So he rose to the occasion for sure. Honestly, guys, nothing but good stories coming out of Charlotte so far this year.
Yeah.
Patrick
For real.
Ackerman, Wilfred Zaha, Pep Biel. They didn't get Margot Royce. Like,
Yeah.
it is looking good in Charlotte at the moment, guys. Not to mention, they go down to 10 men in the 74th minute. San Jose had 15 minutes to bag 2 goals and get back into this one.
Ooh.
I mean, I think it says a lot more about Charlotte than it does about San Jose. One more final interconference match of the week, gentlemen, and boy, am I glad to have spent already approximately 90 or so minutes talking about this game because it is boring. If you did not see this match, you did not miss anything. Ivan Glavanovic would score in the 8th minute with a pretty good header. I'll give him that. Ben Lunt could not get there. I don't think Roman Berkey would have. Other than that, you didn't miss much. Philadelphia Union's attack looked pretty good. Quinn Sullivan produced a pretty spectacular free kick effort that hit the crossbar. Other than that, you missed an Edu Lovin red card, which is very out of
Yeah.
character, but it wasn't even anything cool. He just kicks the ball away. If a dissentful red card is the first worst way to get one, kicking the ball away for time wasting is the second worst. A just poor decision from
Yeah.
one of St. Louis City's top leaders, and he will be missing next week against Austin FC, which is kind of a big loss. And how St. Louis City fills those shoes, I think, is going to be one of the major storylines for the club going into next week.
Yeah. It's so stupid that we have two of the worst red cards this week. But yeah, luckily, like no one's getting injured because of these reds.
True,
So
true.
I will take that. But
Just a little bit of pride got hurt. No big deal.
yeah, exactly. Just compose yourself, gentlemen. Compose yourself. It's just a game.
Philadelphia, though, get the 3 points. They come out on top, and they they're top of the East. Them and Charlotte are looking extremely competitive right now. Maybe it's the early season fire, but if I'm being honest, Philly could be contenders, missing I think 5 starters and still being able to get the win over a St. Louis City side that hadn't conceded a goal this season. Objectively, I know I'm very biased, as you can clearly see, but I think that's very impressive for Philadelphia. St. Louis City, on the flip side of the conference in the West, would be fifth in the West, looking all right, sitting above Minnesota and below San Diego. I
Yeah.
think it's accurate for St. Louis City right now.
I know a lot of St. Louis City fans aren't feeling too hot, but like at the end of the day, we're still sitting in fifth. We can really build on this start to the year that we've had. So, you know, as long as we keep fighting, we go up and we learn from our mistakes, we might be all right. We might be all right. But my matchup that I wanted to talk about from this one is the Vancouver Chicago matchup. Because
Yeah.
come on, that's crazy. Uh, First off, kudos to Chicago for getting that big dub against a Whitecap side that looked like they were gonna go undefeated for some time. They really don't have a lot of flaws, but just like a couple other teams in this international window, they did lose Brian White as well. So they did lose a goal
Mm-hmm.
scorer, but they still have Jaden Nelson playing a pretty decent game. There's still a lot of positives from this Vancouver side. I think they're going to be really good this year. And yeah, this is their first L, but I don't think people have to read into it too much. I still think Vancouver's a really strong side, but
They are. They also, Grayson. I didn't mention this in the recap, but Yohei Takaoka, their goalkeeper, once again made a lot of big save. He is very good, and in our time recapping games, I have seen quite a bit of him. It feels like, and it's mostly been good. So I would equate him to the Chicago Fire's goalkeeper. He's that good, if you ask me.
I
yeah,
have a question. What did you make of the Chicho Arango penalty run up? Did you see a pause in there? Because I definitely thought he paused for a split second.
If not a pause, there was at the very least a second San Jose Earthquakes player in the box. Christian
Oh, yeah, that
Espinosa was
too.
probably 2 yards behind him by the time he took it, which I was shocked did not get called. But I that that like jump stutter step is so annoying. It is so annoying. So it's hard to say for sure if there was a pause. I don't know. I don't like it though. I don't
it
like it.
was it was so late in the match. I mean, granted, whatchamacallit, they were down to 10 men at that point, but the referee is just not going to call that one back. The game's almost over.
yeah.
True.
I mean, penalty calls are like I feel like it was pretty cut and dry, but people are getting so creative now with their run ups. I feel like it's gotten to a point where it's kind of up to the ref again, and refs don't really call that sort of thing very often. We did see it recently in the Champions League with Atletico Madrid having a PK called back for a double tap that was like invisible. Uh,
Yeah. Also because he slipped.
yeah, but I don't know. It's tricky. Penalties are getting weird, man. Penalties are getting weird.
Honestly, the MLS would improve so much if we had Champions League level referees.
Uh, it's a
Should
I,
fun thought.
I said what I said.
do we want uh do we want to bring back the old MLS style penalty shootouts? Uh, what
No.
do you guys think? No, you're not a fan.
No.
I know. I think a lot of people do like them.
They're fun, but no.
I was gonna say maybe for fun occasions, like for the All Star break and like some challenge or something in that respect. But for a serious competition, that should never be the way to decide a soccer game.
Yeah.
I would do
Boo.
that challenge. We can do that with some people watching right now. If they want to be in goal, I'll be in goal a few times. Like we can take turns. It looks really fun.
Now we'll have to get out there and try some MLS run up penalties. Try not to tear our ACLs, but we'll see. That'll be a tricky one.
I
Um,
think we only have four decent ACLs on this podcast total.
Hopefully,
Knock on wood. Sorry about
yeah.
that.
uh, let's go ahead and talk about our goals of the week. So Jacob went ahead and posted all of the goals of the week on our Instagram this week. So if you haven't gotten a chance to take a peek at them, go watch them real quick on our story. But let's go ahead and talk about them because I think goal number one was from Pep Biel. It was that banger against who did Charlotte come up against this week again?
San Jose.
San Jose, yeah, yeah. Nice little side netting, finesse, a lot of power in it. What do you guys think about? What do you guys think about this goal?
It was nice. It's not my favorite of the nominees, but it's a very well taken goal.
Look, I was gonna say those are the kind you dream about, right? Those are he hit it so sweetly. It laid up perfectly for him. Is it my goal of the week though?
It does get extra points because his daughter had scored earlier, so
Yeah,
he had to match his daughter's goal output, but
I wonder if hers was as sick as this one.
it's probably better, to be honest.
She just hits a scorpion kick.
Halffield.
Well,
Yeah, I'm thinking 50 yards, piss missile, top right.
Ethan, what is your goal of the week?
Well, gentlemen, goal number two from this week, Mr. Marco Pasalic for Orlando City. I can't lie, again, feeling very vindicated watching this recap because I have been singing his praises since match day one, since we started doing these recaps, because getting to watch Orlando City so far this season has been fun. And their attack is a big part of that. Marco Pasalic and Luis Muriel have been very dynamic so far this season. The kind of players that make you sit forward in your seat, and that is exactly what I did watching this recap. And oh my God, que golazo! Marco Pasalic gets my goal of the week pick because seeing a left footer sticking in the top corner like that, it's hard to beat.
Yeah,
The shimmy shake touch to give himself the space, too.
And it's so hard to defend. You, as a defender, you know a move is coming. You don't know which way the fate is gonna go, and that shoulder drop was disgusting. It's so subtle. If there's any young players watching this, study a goal like that because the ability to create space for yourself in an attack like that creates goals, as you see from this Marco Pasalic attempt.
and I will also add points because at first I thought it was just an easy, classic curving goal, little finesse. That thing had some swerve on that bit. Uh,
He essentially hit it straight at the goalkeeper just for it to move at the last second. I mean,
it was very nice. It was
ugh.
very clean. So I'd have to agree. I also vote for Marco Pasic's goal for my goal of the week as well. Jacob, do you feel differently at all, or was that your pick as well?
That's my pick as
Yeah,
well, but I will give the people the third and final nominee of the week. It is LAFC's David Martinez. He's got the ball, super tight angle. He's got maybe 20 degrees that he can squeeze this ball into, and he absolutely rockets it into the back of the net, right over the goalkeeper for LAFC. I thought it was a really nice goal. Also, and this comes with the territory. We weren't really gifted a bunch of amazing goals to break down this week as far as goal nominees. So this one kind of skirt in there. It wasn't too crazy to look at, but still a very very nice screamer from a really tight angle. But my pick is Pasalic, and I guess I'll go check out what the people's pick is.
I checked
Ooh.
right before, and it was 50-50
Oh,
on
it
the
has
second two goals. So
changed. It has changed. In last place with 0 votes, it is the Pep BL goal, nominee number one.
dang, sorry, Pat.
That's
And
good though.
in a close race, 57% to 43%, the winner with 4 votes is Pasalic, goal number two.
It had to be.
Hey!
What?
So
I
shout
mean,
out Oslage. You win match week 5, goal of the week, presented to you
Congratulations.
by the St. Louis City
You'll
Boys.
get your trophy in the mail.
I
Yeah,
wish we had
once
something
we
to send him.
once we get trophies, I do actually want to try and get like one of those CYC participation trophies, and then change the plaque to uh, Jose Kahima Rookie of the Year award, presented by the St. Louis City Boys.
Actually, I went to the Goodwill bins in downtown St. Louis, popped my tire outside. Awesome.
Tough.
But
Typical.
inside of the bins, I did see that they had some massive like trophies in there. I was tempted. I was tempted, but I did not cop the trophies.
Didn't have that forethought
No, no.
for the
I
podcast.
wasn't thinking ahead. That's on me. That's on me. Any grab bag from this week in MLS?
Actually, yeah, Grace. So I'm glad you asked. I want to talk a little bit more about Orlando City because they are 2-1-2 right now. A little bit hot and cold so far on the season. However, from what I've seen from them, I think they could be a contender in the East right now. I think that their performance against the Red Bulls was okay, but going to the Eastern Conference champions of last season and competing like that says a lot for them.
Yeah, and yeah, like I mentioned earlier, it's not just their offense that is actually popping off right now. Their defense is also holding it down in the back, So, yeah, coming up against Christian Benteke is no easy feat. And he I think he got himself an assist in this game, but holding DC United to one goal is it's pretty good. I wouldn't say DC United has the best defense, but their offense is pretty potent, and I think that's definitely the best side of their game. So, kudos to Orlando for shutting them down.
They did manage to keep a clean sheet for 90 minutes. DC United broke through in added time, so do with that what you will. But I just think that they're a team to keep your eye on this season. They could be a sneaky contender in the East. They have the LA Galaxy next week, so if I had to guess, all right, based on how the two teams are performing, I'm gonna pick Orlando in that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I might have to go with
Wasn't
Orlando. I might
wasn't
have to
gonna be
agree.
picking the Galaxy in this one.
But to kick off the month of April, they take on Philadelphia for the second time this season. In their first
Ooh.
game, Orlando lost 4-2. So this could be a Grayson. I think that Philadelphia is the perfect heat check. I love how you describe them as that for St. Louis. They are a team that takes care of business at home and seems to be going out of town and scoring a lot of goals. So Philadelphia and Orlando is definitely going to be a game that I have my eye on.
And I totally just realized we didn't talk about the LA Galaxy versus Minnesota United game. I don't think, uh, but that
How did we miss
I
that?
know. I was just you mentioned LA Galaxy, and I was like, wait a minute, we didn't even talk about them. But that game would end 2-2, little draw. Um, Again, I'd have to say that's a pretty good draw for the LA Galaxy.
Yep.
Minnesota United is so good, bro.
Yeah, very very good, and it would be your
Yeah,
boy,
boy.
your boy. uh,
The double.
with the brace to hold back the Galaxy, who are still working through injuries. They did get Yamane back. That's their right back. They have Julian Odd starting again. They got McCarthy back in goal. So
He had
starting
a
to look.
blunder.
Did he?
Ooh.
He had a blunder. I think it was for Yaboa's one of well, obviously it was one of Yaboa's goals, but I think it was his first goal. He had an absolute blunder, and Yaboa was there to clean it up.
Is Marco Royce hurt for the Galaxy?
uh,
He's
I did not
bad.
even I
the
did not
short
see him on
answer:
the bench.
everybody's hurt at the Galaxy. Let me see here.
Damn.
Let me see.
I mean that's tough. They don't even have that to hang their hat on. They have players. That is very tough.
Johnny Nelson's out. Royce is out until early May, so short one, but yeah, hopefully not too long. Paintsville is coming back very soon, so that's something positive for them. I think he's back in training at least. I actually heard that it was possible he would get minutes in this matchup, but alas, maybe one or two more match days to wait, and then Galaxy fans will not have to cry any longer. Well, we'll see. Because I mean, Paintsville's really, really good.
Yeah, I think their issue isn't necessarily offensive right now. They don't have a cohesive defense or midfield at the moment. As soon as they get into the attacking third, they have a lot of healthy, dynamic players right now, and Jeremy Paintsville is going to add to it, but they cannot keep teams out of their goal.
Yep.
Yes,
Yep.
sir.
And Yaboa is definitely a top level striker in the MLS. I think that he announced his appearance last season and will be competing for the Golden Boot this season, winning or maybe not, but I think competing, have his name in the hat. And I think you're completely right, Jacob. They just have essentially no defense right now. Maya Yoshida and Yamane are very good, but they aren't able to keep people out. They let St. Louis City score three. That's I think that says it all.
Uh, it's kind of embarrassing. Let's see. Any other grab bag? Any other final notes? Take a look at the full table. We've got, of course, Philly and Vancouver both sitting uh, pretty much tied for first place, but they're both on 12 points. Then you got Charlotte, Miami, Nashville, Chicago, all sitting on 10. Um,
To be fair, this has shifted quite a bit since like match day three.
Yeah, the
This
that's the
day.
beauty of the MLS is it's still early on in the year, and 3 points mean a lot when everyone has like no points. But yeah, that's the beauty of the MLS is like everything changes so fast, and a team like Chicago is now looking pretty good. Look like they can compete this year, so it's exciting. It's one of the reasons why I love the MLS.
I don't have any other grab bag.
Let's see.
Uh, I'm interested in how Columbus is going to do the rest of the season. It seems like they are performing pretty mediocre so far this season. I think I was about to try and make up a new word right there.
Mediocrosity.
So I don't know. Columbus and Cincinnati are two teams that I have my eyes on over in the East because underperforming expectations right now.
Mm, I'd have to say biggest surprise for me so far is looking at the table here is just seeing Atlanta so low in the table. Only sitting on 5 points, one win, two draws. Um, you know, not the best run, but I think they are a team that as the season goes on, they will just keep improving. Um, And then, yeah.
Seeing San Jose come out red hot just for them to lose three straight is also wild.
Dropped all the way to 10th position after being in first.
Yeah,
Oof.
yeah.
They're an interesting squad. Definitely exciting to see. Um, what's going on with them in the future.
I mean, that's just the Bruce Arena special. Go to a team that is historic with stars and just throw shit at the wall, see what sticks.
I'm going to look ahead into next week's matchups, and we've got some pretty exciting ones. I'd have to say, my game to watch for next week is going to be Philly versus Miami. Come on, like that's a
Ooh.
blockbuster match. That's going to be on Saturday, 6:30. So that's going to be definitely one to watch. Let's see. Any other big games that are super exciting? We got San Diego versus LAFC. Little California derby there, so that one's gonna be
That would be good.
fun. Um, LA Galaxy versus Orlando across
No.
across the coast. Gonna get smacked.
Yeah,
I
I
do
love.
think Nashville Cincy is gonna be a pretty good game.
Just a good old Midwest clash.
Yep, that that does have a physical matchup written all over it, doesn't
Yeah, just
it?
grit, grime, real lunch pail style.
I don't know how you missed this one, Grayson. Minnesota and Salt Lake for me, two teams in the West that I think Minnesota is almost certain to be into the playoffs this season. And if RSL can pull 3 points from a playoff team, then they'll be sitting in very good shape.
I don't
It's a,
have much faith in RSL at the moment. I think Minnesota might run away with that one. Could be along the lines of like 5-6-0. Sorry to the RSL bros. You guys are cool, but you know as well as I do, your team is not performing to standard right now.
Let's see. I do want to call out an upset alert. I honestly don't think this is gonna happen, but the storylines are there. We've got Toronto coming up against
no
Vancouver.
shot. No
um,
shot.
Listen, Vancouver just getting their first loss of the year. Toronto looking for anything at all. They just got their man back, Lorenzo Insigne, who needs to prove he's worth any money. So if yeah, if he's gonna show up, now's the time, man. Let's see it against one of the best teams in the league, Vancouver. Little
No, I got
Canadian derby.
Vancouver walking all over Toronto in that game. I got to be honest.
Can I get a predicted score line? What do you think? 7-0? 7?
7-0. No, I'm gonna take the classic 3-1
Okay.
for Vancouver. I
Do you
think
think they'll get
Toronto
a goal?
might get a late one. Yeah, I think Vancouver will make some subs toward the end of the game. Maybe take their foot off the gas after being up 3-0 for so long.
Oh,
I know, just so exhausted. Get them a bed. The last two games that I want to call out are going to be Colorado and Charlotte, and then I do think the Sunday night soccer is billed appropriately because Portland and Houston could be a good game. If you would have said this to me maybe 3 weeks ago, I would have laughed in your face because I would have thought that both these teams are just incapable of scoring goals. But Portland has now shown us that they're capable of hitting the back of the net not once, not twice, but 3 times. So potentially could see Portland walking over Houston in that game.
maybe
I,
running.
as far as Colorado and Charlotte goes, another good interconference matchup for Charlotte. Colorado has been competitive this season. They were able to maintain a clean sheet against St. Louis early on. Zach Steffen has also been playing well in the MLS this season, boys.
Yeah.
You know I am not too big on Zach Steffen. I'll be the first to admit it, but so far this season he has been an unbelievable shot stopper.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be a decent game. I don't think um, it's going to turn out super great for Colorado, but I think it'll be high flying. you know, a lot of counterattacking in that game. So it'll be a fun one to watch. Um, I will say there was another exciting one that I saw. That would be San Jose coming up against Seattle. A little East Coast draw.
A
Um,
little bottom of the tables
yeah,
draw.
yeah. So it's
San
really,
Jose and Seattle on the East Coast, brother.
oh my god. uh,
That's the
wait,
other side. It's okay. Hey.
I've been staring at this computer all day. West Coast draw. Uh, San Jose versus Seattle. I think this is a good one. It's both two kind of mediocre teams this year that are trying to prove that they're a lot better than they are. So we'll see how that one turns out. I think that'll be a fun one to watch.
Agreed.
And we get to see Sporting Kansas City lose to Dallas too, so that'd be fun.
Hoping to see a Luciano Acosta legacy game.
Let's see it. Yeah, let's go see a Lucci hat trick.
How many weeks do we think it'll take for Sporting Kansas City to win a match?
Let's actually look at Sporting Kansas City's upcoming games. I'm
Cavincho,
I'm
where you
curious
at?
as well.
Cavincho,
They
drop in the chat.
oh man. I wish I could say that I wasn't enjoying it. I really am though. They haven't gotten anything, no kind of win in 13 games.
A
Coming
3-3 draw against Minnesota was very respectable, but
it is.
that's
Well,
a
would you look at that?
oh
So next
jeez.
week, their next opponent is FC Dallas, of course.
Red. Oh, and look the stream.
And you know who they kick off April with, boys? St. Louis City. It is us. The city faithful will be going to
Oh yeah.
Nebraska Furniture Mart Park to just reignite the best rivalry in the MLS.
With their attendance recently, I would not be surprised if that is a sold out St. Louis crowd in April.
I think it could happen.
You gotta think that like there are random pockets of like Kansas City fans in St. Louis, there's gotta be random pockets of St. Louis fans in Kansas City.
Oh
So
yeah. They're out
yeah,
there.
I would not
They're out
I
there.
would not be surprised whatsoever if yeah, there's gonna be plenty of City Red in Children's Mercy. After St. Louis City, looking ahead, they have Portland, San Jose, and Cincinnati in the month of April. That's not an easy run. That's not an easy run. Those are three conference opponents. Well, two conference opponents, and then Cincinnati, a historically very good team. It's not looking good.
Yeah, there's not. I feel bad for Kansas City because like almost every team you put them up against, you're like, damn, that's not a guaranteed win. That's not a guaranteed. What is a
No,
guaranteed win for Kansas City? I don't know, and um, just, just hurts. Just hurts. Dan Jovelich, someone free him.
a free Ovi.
Free Jovelich.
Straight swap Klaus for Yovi.
Okay,
You and
yeah.
these trade contracts, Jacob.
I would take. I would.
It's like me in
I might have
fantasy
to take that
football,
one.
bro. Just throw everything out, see what hits.
What you got, huh?
Well, with all those matchups, do you have a bet for next week? Do you have a bet that you would take? Um,
I'm
eh,
in Missouri now, bro.
oh yeah. I can't do that
I
anymore
can't do
either.
it anymore.
I drew
I gotta wait.
withdrew all my FanDuel money for that thrift store last week. So
Damn, you must have had quite a bit of money in there, bro.
yeah,
I know what you spent on that cacao shirt.
thanks to St. Louis City for all that. Yeah, that was I only bet on St. Louis City's inaugural run where we had 5 games, 5 dubs. You all remember
I
that?
do. We'll never forget it.
Yeah, I started with a free $10 bet, and I got I got enough to get some nice soccer merch. I'd have to say. So
All right.
um, if I were to place a bet for next week, I would go anytime goal scorer. I'm going Emil Forsberg. I rewatching that New York Red Bull game. He was involved in every single positive movement from the Red Bulls. Emil Forsberg was on the end of the ball or passing the ball. Uh, every single like good cross in was on his foot. So yeah, I think if you're gonna put money on anyone to do anything, it I think it very well could be Emil Forsberg next week.
I think if you'd want to look at a fun three-man anytime goal scorer parlay, it'd be Forsberg, Yaboa, Benteke. I
Yeah,
think that's a safe, not safe, but that
it's not
as
safe,
far
but that's
as
a great bet. I'd say
yeah.
you'd have to look at the matchups and but I'd have to say like maybe add like a lot to Loth in there or some really hot hands. It's tricky. It's tricky. Any final notes, guys? Jacob?
Cool. Well, you have been watching this on YouTube, so make sure you're subscribed, like, comment down below. Shout out to Michael Harden, who's been very lively in the chat tonight. Appreciate you, big fella. Later, if you're listening to this on Spotify, make sure you follow and rate 5 stars. Also, our socials have been on the screen throughout the night, so make sure you guys are following those. And most importantly, do not forget to tell your mothers you love her. Peace.
Peace.
MLS.